Hey, I'm back. This is Chandler for Melda Production, and today I'm going to show you how you can simulate some room mics. Now, of course, if you already have some room mics, you can just load them in through Convolution EZ. That's easy enough. But if you don't have that, I'm going to show you how you can kind of simulate that. The easiest way is obviously using the reverb, but the reverb sometimes leaves a tail that can muddy up your mix. And if you just want the space and the stereo environment, but don't want that, you may not want to use the reverb. I'm going to show you some alternatives that will work really well for you, I think. So let's get started. So we have this amp, we have this cabinet, and what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to add a looper here, as I showed you before in previous videos. And what I'm going to do with this is I'm just going to record something. That way, while I'm adjusting things, I don't have to play at the same time. We'll just have this going in a loop like this. So set this up and record something. Okay, let's play it back. Okay, that should be good enough for what we're going to use it for. Then we have our sound here. Of course, we can adjust the amp to make it sound better, but let's get into it. What we have is we have a room here, which we can use. This is probably the easiest way. Just turn this on, move this up a little bit, and let's hear it. I can just pop this out so I can play it all the time. Play. So as you can hear, this fills things out quite a bit, and we can even turn this up here. Now, of course, you can mess with these different controls here, and this is a good way, but you might think this doesn't really leave you too many options. So we're going to do another way that will make things a little bit more easy for you to adjust. So the other way we can do this is we can use the ERs. These are early reflections. And you have a number of different ones here that we can adjust here. So play this, large room. Now you can see this adds a lot of space here, and we can adjust this with the wet and dry, and we can even use the low pass filters and the high pass filters or the width to adjust things. This is good, but I think I might want to use this on a parallel track here, or parallel lane. And the reason is I can have a little bit more options when it comes to adjusting things. So let's just move this over here. Now you see as we move it over, it's going to go out lane 2 and it's going to start from the input. Coming out lane 2 isn't so much of a problem, but I think I probably want to mix things together with a mixer. But going into this input is a terrible problem. So I need to go here into input by right-clicking and then go and choose 1 here, like this. And I can even move this forward a little bit if I want. Now I'm going to go down here and I'm going to just choose a mixer here. Now, one thing if you notice it's getting close to the bottom, you might want to move things up just a little bit. It doesn't really change anything, but it just does give you a little bit more space if you think things are cramped. In the mixer, I'm just going to right click. I'm going to choose input 1, and you see it goes all the way through. Then I'm going to choose input 2. It's still going to go out of input 2 here, so I might want to use steal input 2 like this. So now I have it, and I'm going from just the cabinet and the ER. Make sure this is all the way at 100% like this, and I can listen to each separately like this. And of course, we can adjust the gain, volume, panorama, etc. In this case, I probably don't want to change the panorama, but you could. So maybe if you're going for like an old Van Halen thing, you could pan the dry to one side and pan the reverb or something to the left side. I think that's how they did that in the old Van Halen ones, but there you go. What we can do also here is let's just listen to this in solo, and let's adjust the low pass and high pass filters. Now, by doing this, to me, it sounds a little bit more like an actual room by cutting off some of the high end and low end, but don't want to do too much necessarily. And as you're doing this, it's going to reduce the volume. So I might boost this like 2 decibels. And of course, we can mix it later. This is pretty good. And let's hear it now together. Now you can hear that's really adding some ambience, especially width for this. But you might think like, you know what, I want to do a little bit more. Luckily, it's not getting in the way, but one thing we can do is we could add some EQ and do further EQing here with the EQ7. But what I really want to do is actually delay this a little bit. So we're going to go into the delay tab. Here, we can adjust the volume, as I said before, instead of doing it in the mixer, but also we can adjust this in milliseconds here if we want. If you wanted to sync it also, you could, change this to quarter notes or something like that if that's what you want. But for me, especially for adjusting things like microphones or other things, I prefer to do it in milliseconds. So let's try this at 15 milliseconds. This should add some depth and it should be more clear, at least the room sound. So let's hear it now. Hopefully you can hear as I bypass this, it seems to get smaller. And remember, the early reflections are still going through, but when I have it on and you have that 15 millisecond delay, it seems like it's a little bit farther and it seems like the room is bigger. We can also increase this even more. If I do 50 milliseconds, it'll probably sound really strange. It'll sound like a really big room like this. So you can use this almost as a pre-delay. If you want it to sound really big, increase the milliseconds delay or probably choose a different mode inside this ER. So instead of studio, I might use something larger like maybe club or something. And increase this delay. If you wanted something, maybe here, if I actually want it to sound like a studio, I might reduce it, maybe like 10 milliseconds or so and see how that sounds. And by getting the early reflections kind of out of the way of the dry sound, it makes a larger sound. And you can really use this to fill out a mix. Sometimes, you might want to, double track or quadruple track your guitars, and that'll give you the size. But if you only want to use one guitar, this is a good way to fill out that, stereo width and make your sound bigger. And there's other things we could do with this as well. We could also put, a doubler or something on it if I wanted, even more width. But I think this is good enough. And this is an easy way to do it. You can also use this delay tap with something else like the Convolution EZ or even the reverb to give your reverb some pre-delay if you want that. But I think by using this, we can get a large sound without an annoying tail that can muddy up our mix. You can make things as large or as small as you want to, and hopefully it doesn't use that much CPU, so that's always great too. If you enjoyed this, give me a thumbs up. If you have any questions about it, leave me any comments or questions down below and check out all the other plugins at meldaproduction.com. Till next time, see you.